In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
Cybersecurity. That is the topic of this segment here on the Tech Zone. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. This is ABC News Radio KMET. So happy to have you with me. Remember, you can connect with me, paulamadeouslane.com. Let's chat. Let's connect. Let me know some subjects that are on your mind when it comes to technology and concerns that you may have. And I promise we'll try our hardest to get to it. The one thing about cybersecurity, when there's cybersecurity attack, you may sometimes feel like, oh, see, that's why I'm not going to use technology. I'm not going to do banking, all these things, and it's this and that. And then it kind of makes us scarred. Not scared, but scarred. And rightfully so. None of us want our data breached and, our privacy upended by some nefarious people. But oftentimes, when the breach happens, it's kind of sometimes on the business part, the businesses not being up to par when it comes to attacks. So really, there's things that we can do personally, but we want to make sure that the companies that we do business with are keeping our data secure. And so I decided to bring back an old friend of mine who we talked to a little over a year ago about cybersecurity and talk about some of the recent incidents that have happened around the world, but also here in the United States. And let's see if there's anything we can do to keep ourselves safe. And I'm so happy to have with me right now the founder and CEO of DF Labs, my pal, Dario Forte. What's going on, Dario? How are you?
It's a pleasure for being here. It's nice to see you again. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too, Dario. And I couldn't believe the last time we chatted was 14 months ago. And I just remembered all the fun that we had in our discussion and the education that you gave as far as cybersecurity. And I'm so happy to have you back on, my friend.
It's a pleasure for me to be here. A lot of topic to discuss today.
Absolutely. And we just had a data breach in Ecuador. And tell us just how that impacted, the great folks over there in Ecuador with the cybersecurity and the risks.
So you imagine a population of around 20 million people, including 7 million minors that were exposed probably to the biggest leak and data breach ever in that country. And that has been discovered by a cybersecurity firm during a routing project, so something that was not expected to be discovered. And it is basically a data breach that exposed the data of the entire population, including but potentially not limited to email address, bank data, financial data, personal data, social security, or similar the way they call it over there. So basically, the interesting thing is that it has been discovered as a sort of casualty. And second is that the type of data that have been acquired by the attackers are a part of such a big group of data that they will be very difficultly replicable in the future. So some of the data that have been potentially breached are data that can be created just once. It cannot be recreated because they are unique and uniquely related to the person. So it is really a very important and massive data breach that is actually involving a series of targets that I will be happy to discuss in just a few seconds. But it was even more important that they data breach that happened probably 3 days before, where almost 100 million records of car owners in the United States have been compromised by another group of attackers. So it's a big issue for the country of Ecuador, and also because we don't know if they are actually fully prepared to respond.
Wow, and you hit up a very good subject when you look at what happened in Ecuador right there. What what kind of happened? Why were they not prepared for this, Dario? Was it not just taking cybersecurity seriously, or how did they make themselves a target out there for the hackers?
Well, of course, Ecuador is part of those countries that are starting now. And when I say now, I mean 2 to 3 years back. They're starting now to build their own cybersecurity protection ecosystem. And of course, that is something that cannot be built in a day. That is reflecting in the speed of reaction and also the quality of the reaction that may be probably be less effective compared, for example, to a similar data breach that may be happening, I don't know, in the US or in the UK or in more advanced countries. I have to say that according to the news, investigators are in Ecuador are quickly analyzing computers and documents and electronic devices. They have probably already identified some of the responsible for this data breach. But of course, we don't know if these people that have been identified are actually the author of the data breach, or the responsible of the data systems that have been compromised. Makes sense?
Oh yeah.
So at this point, the situation is still very confusing. Of course, PR from the government are trying to calm down the population, but it's definitely something that may have an important impact in the future.
Yeah, and I can just imagine, Dario, how people must feel in Ecuador having their data breached and attacked over there. It could be, kind of scary, because people can do some nefarious things with your information, with your data, and it's just one of those things where every day it seems like we're always having a cyber attack, we're having all these data breaches and things like that. And Dario, being on top of this industry, what advice, would you give like companies like Ecuador and companies out there who really haven't taken the time to invest in cybersecurity to make sure that either their customers' data is safe, or the inhabitants of the land? What advice could you tell them?
Well, one interesting thing within the fact of the Ecuador data breach is that even WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange information was found among the trove of leaked data. So this is very, very, very interesting, because, as you know, Assange was, let's say, granted with the political asylum and lived in Ecuador, in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. And part of the data were stored in Ecuador, so probably that's why they found it. But in any case, nobody is 100% immune to data breaches and attacks. Emerging countries have a major issue, but also an opportunity. The major issue is that they may be found unprepared to react. And that is due to the fact that the investments that they have done so far are mostly unstructured. So probably a better plan and better planning, better awareness, more structural architecture design and strategy are required in order to avoid such episode to happen. The opportunity is that since they are relatively new to the topic, they may have the opportunity to reduce the complexity of the implementation of the new strategy because they don't have the legacy systems that some other countries may have. So in this particular case, it will be less difficult for them to react and prevent to particular type of incidents. Some of the emerging markets, the emerging nations are doing pretty good jobs. If we jump from South America to Europe, for example, Poland has just announced the creation of a cyber army as a part of their armed forces. And that is symptomatic of the fact that countries are taking this very seriously, also from a military standpoint. There is a lot to do, both from a strategic and a technology standpoint, and the new trends such as IoT, Internet of Things, are exposing even homes and personal devices to the potential critical hacking from all over the world.
Wow. And I know later on in our discussion we're going to be talking about the IoT and everything. But before we go to that, Dario, I wanted to ask you about a little bit more about the car manufacturer here in the United States, so that had their data breached and everything. So, what does that mean for us here in the States?
It means that if you have purchased a car in the past few years, your data may be exposed to a series of potential misuse in the black market. And those data are usually financial data or personal data, and even social security number, because sometimes in order to get money to buy a car, you may be asked to provide this kind of information, So this data breach in particular is not properly related to the safety of the car themselves, which is mostly a IoT, Internet of Things kind of topic. But this 100 million of cars buyers data are actually exposed, and usually those data are purchased in the black market by hackers or organized crime, and then reutilized to do other type of crimes such as fraud and so forth.
Wow. And the guys here in the studio are asking, which car manufacturer is it, so we can find out. So Dario, can we say who it was?
It's not a matter of car manufacturer. It's a matter of car dealer network.
Oh, dealer. Okay.
It's on the distribution channel, so it's something that may probably not be relevant for your colleagues. Some of them for sure owns Lamborghini, and some of them may owns Ferrari, because you are in your industry. You guys are very rich. But in any case, I'm kidding, of course. But in any case, it's not about the car manufacturer. It's about the car dealer networks. Okay. But car manufacturers are, at the moment, are another important target that probably it's worthwhile to discuss.
Wow. And Dario, this just lets us know just how vulnerable we are when it comes to breaches and our data out there. And when it comes to getting your stuff purchased on the black market, how do we know that we've been hacked by, if we shop somewhere and our information has been hacked? And what if the companies don't let us know what happened? How is there anything that we should look at, suspicious activity that could kind of tip us off that somebody has our information that they got on the black market?
Yeah, there are two types of tasks that should be done. One usually should be done by consumers, and one type of task from enterprises. So from a consumer standpoint, the good news is that there are services that can help you to protect your electronic identity as a citizen, and or to help you in blocking some of your financial exposure because these companies usually are monitoring the black market and can be proactive with you about noticing you about that some of your data may be being used in the black market. As a user, you may be really careful about the type of email and communications, even SMS or WhatsApp that you may receive on your personal phone or your email, asking for confirmation of personal data or asking you to provide additional data, because those are usually symptomatic of the fact that actually is a phishing attack attempt that you should avoid. The good news is that consumers are having a growing number of services that can help them. Some of them may be private services, some of them may be offered by the banks or the credit card consortium that they work with, or some of them may be provided by the government, depending from where you are. So this is the good news. If you are in the enterprise environment, so if you are a company and you suspect that you've been breached, it's your duty to remind that there are a lot of regulations all over the world, and with reference to the US, both federal and state regulation that are basically making it mandatory to disclose any possible data breaches within your organization. Otherwise, there will be a big fine against you, business owner. And it doesn't matter that you are a big car manufacturer or if you are a dentist in a small town, I don't know, whatever, in Alabama, because you are subject to this kind of fine everywhere. And if you deal with Europe, there is another regulation called GDPR that is actually having providing big fines and big sanctions in case you are not disclosing data breaches, or you cannot show to the authority that in case of data breaches you did everything possible to prevent and limit the damages.
Wow. Dario, so many things to unpack and unravel when it comes to cybersecurity and everything, and I'm so happy that we're able to talk to you about it. And one thing that I wanted to hit on next, and since we all love technology, I do, smart home, connected homes, Internet of Things, how can we keep ourselves safe when we're using these great technologies that make our lives easier?
The fact that you are getting let's say, fancy stuff that apparently makes your life easier doesn't mean that you are protected by default. If you buy something that may get your voice messages or get some voice command and so forth, the Alexa of the situation, the OK Google of the situation, the Apple of the situation, that automatically expose your privacy, for example. Or if you have a fridge, or if you have any device connected in your house that can go through the internet, that is exposed by default. So as a homeowner, you have some responsibility in protecting your property and the device in your houses. If you drive a car, the fact that the car is connected can potentially expose you in terms of safety. So again, technology is cool, technology is fancy, but that doesn't mean that you are protected by default. So buy it without any problem, but do it wisely. In the Internet of Things type of sector, the number of structural investments from companies, critical infrastructures, investors of any type is growing exponentially. There is a growing number of investments that are conducted in this sector. Also because part of the reaction and the detection of the incidents related to IoT cannot be done manually, just with humans, because there is a growing number of attacks and threats, but still the same number of people available to detect and react to those. So automation and technology that is able to automate the response and the detection to the breach, they are the only solution for the next future.
So, Dario, is technology and R&D and implementing all these great technologies out there and cybersecurity, are they in lockstep, side by side, with making sure as new technologies emerge, like the IoT, that cybersecurity is right next to them, making sure that no breaches, keeping our safe, or is cybersecurity kind of lagging behind just because technology is being produced at a record pace?
Yes, I want to. There is a good news here. Before there was a gap between the digital innovation and the security. A lot of innovation, but less available cybersecurity to protect the innovation itself. Now there is an acceleration of cybersecurity to protect the so-called digital transformation. So apparently it may result as a scary world. But the good news is that the number of available technology for protecting the digital transformation is growing quickly. And I will say for the level of available solutions all over the world, not only in the US, and the state of the art is improving a lot. So let's innovate. Let's not doing it just superficially. Let's keep an eye to cybersecurity, but the good news is that cybersecurity is available for the digital transformation nowadays.
Awesome. We feel much better now, Dario, for you telling us that. We were all like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? So, we really appreciate it. And Dario, you hit on something that I wanted to go back to just for a second about no matter if you're a big company or a small company, cybersecurity is something that you definitely want to make sure that you implement. Now, your company is in the business of, I guess, identifying needs for different companies. Is that right?
It's a company that produces a type of technology called SOAR, SOAR, Security Orchestration Automated Response, that is a technology that solves a particular problem, which is the need for speed in identifying and responding to cyber attacks. Before, responding to a cyber attack used to require a lot of manual effort, people effort, and the average to solve an incident and even a security alert was hours, if not days. Now, with the help of SOAR technologies, the same time goes down from hours into seconds. And many of the attacks and the alerts can be automatically investigated by the machine. And that means a lot of additional speed and a lot of additional security for many of the attacks that are currently exploiting the cyber world.
Awesome. And if ones want to find out more information about your company, how can they go about doing that?
They can go on DF Labs. We are a European company headquartered in Milano, but we have offices all over the world, including East Coast, London, Abu Dhabi, and we are proud to serve many customers in the United States as well.
Awesome. dflabs.com. And Dario, before I let you go, my friend, I want to let everybody know about a fun fact. We kind of talked about this 14 months ago when I had you on the first time. You are so good at what you do, being a cybersecurity expert, Dario, that somebody actually wrote a song about your efforts. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. I was in the police in my past life, a couple of almost 15 years ago, I would say almost 20 years ago. And we were arresting a group of hackers that were responsible of stealing a series of very crucial secrets from NASA and the US Navy. And it was a bunch of hackers from Europe. And we arrested almost all of them. But probably we were not able to, to make enough fear. And a group of hackers in Italy made a song that you can still find in Google in Italian that basically was saying, "Let's be aware of Dario because he's coming down to catch us." And it was very funny stuff. And the most funny thing is that I was noticed about this song I've been told about this song by a colleague of mine that was at that time was in the intelligence, saying that he was investigating that group of hackers that were doing a song about me. So I don't know if it is an honor or if it is something worse. I don't know, but it was a very funny episode.
Well, you know what, Dario, where I come from, we call that street cred, man. That means that you made it to the top, man. When people are rapping about you, having songs about you, man, that means that you have made it to the top, my friend. But hey,
Yeah.
always great.
That's true.
Always great catching up with you,
I,
Dario, and looking forward to chatting with you again, my friend. And thank you so much for keeping us up to date on the different data breaches out there, and just you know how vulnerable we are, you know, when it comes to cyber attacks.
it's a pleasure for me being here, and thank you for the invitation.
Love talking to my friend Dario Forte. That's pretty cool. You have arrived when somebody started writing songs about you and everything. So, but Dario is a cybersecurity expert. Love getting his insight, and I'm fortunate that I can go to him and ask him about some cybersecurity questions so that we can be aware of how to protect ourselves and just the threats that are out there. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about a study that was done about the 10 fastest rural cities in America when it comes to internet and the 10 slowest. And we're in California here based. We didn't do too well. Yeah, we kind of ended up on that bottom list in certain areas here in California. So we're going to talk to the person who put that report together and find out, you know, if there's any way we can speed up our internet or just talk more about that report. We'll be right back here on the Tech on Paul Amadeus Lane. Take care.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.